Hi dear friends, how are you all? Welcome to YouTube channel HR Tutorials India. In this video, we will be discussing how to calculate EPF or Employee Provident Fund. How to calculate EPF? Employee Provident Fund or the PF is a retirement benefit scheme for salaried employees in the private sector. The Employees Provident Fund Organization EPFO manages the EPF. Any organization or firm with 20 or more employees gets covered under the EPFO. The Employees Provident Fund Organization operates these three schemes: the EPF Scheme 1952, the Pension Scheme 1995, and the Insurance Scheme 1996. EPF stands for Employee Provident Fund, which is a retirement benefit scheme for the salaried employees in a private sector. EPFO, which stands for Employees Provident Fund Organization, manages the EPF. Any employee having more than 20 employees are covered under EPFO. EPFO operates three schemes, which are the Employee Provident Fund Scheme 1952, the Pension Scheme 1995, and the Insurance Scheme 1976. Once the company gets registered with EPF, all the employees fall under this EPF benefit. All employees fall under this EPF scheme, where a fixed contribution of 12% of the basic salary and the dearness allowance from the employee's salary will be deducted towards the scheme. At the same time, even the employer also make an equal contribution to this EPF scheme. The amount collected and paid to the EPF department is maintained by EPFO, and the EPFO Central Board of Trustees fixes the EPF interest rates after consulting the Ministry of Finance. And currently, the interest rate of EPF is fixed to 7.1% for the financial year 2021. EPF helps the employees with a lump sum amount at the time of retirement, which includes both the contribution of the employee and employer along with the interest accumulated for the period of which the PF is being paid. However, the 12% of employer contribution does not go to EPF account. Out of 12%, 8.33% goes towards the employee pension scheme and the remaining 3.67% goes to the Employee Provident Fund. When it comes to employee contribution, complete 12% goes towards the EPF account. Once the company gets registered under EPF Act, it is mandatory that all the employees who draw a basic salary of less than 15,000 per month becomes a member of EPF account, and an employee who has registered under EPF account cannot opt out from the EPF account. And there is an advantage for an employee to enhance his or her contribution up to 100% of the basic salary towards the voluntary provident fund. But it is not mandatory that employer should match with this voluntary provident fund contribution, which means 12% of the basic salary is the maximum an employer need to pay to the EPF contribution. As I told, even though the salary of the employee exceeds beyond the 15,000, it is not mandatory for the employer to pay more than 12% of 15,000. Which means employer is liable only to pay an amount of 1800, that is 12% of 15,000, not more than that. Basic rate calculation of EPF. Let us see what are the contributions of employee and employer towards EPF. EPF contribution consists of 5 different accounts: account 1, account 2, account 10, account 21, account 22. Account 1 is Employee Provident Fund, account 2 is Employee Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme, account 10 Employee Pension Scheme, account 21 Employee Provident Fund Administration Charges, account 22 Employee Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme Administration Charges. Then finally the total. The employee contribution percentage, that is 12% of the basic salary, is contributed towards EPF account, that is Employee Provident Fund, which goes to account number 1. Whereas account 2, account 10, account 21, account 22 are nil when it comes to employee contribution. And the total contribution from employee is 12%. While coming to employer contribution, the 12% what we have discussed will be divided into two parts, that is 3.67% towards account 1, that is Employee Provident Fund Scheme, and the remaining 8.33% of the basic salary towards account 10, that is Employee Pension Scheme. Whereas employee need to pay extra, that is 0.5% of basic salary toward the account 2, that is Employee Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme, and another 0.5% of the basic salary towards account 21, which is Employee Provident Fund Administration Charges. Hence, the total percentage contributed from the employer end is 13%, whereas 12% will go towards Employee Provident Fund and Employee Pension Scheme, and the remaining 1% will be going towards administration charges and Employee Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme. So, in total, 25% will be paid towards the Employee Provident Fund department. How to compute EPF? The rates of EPF contribution are calculated on the basic salary paid. Currently, the employee contribution is 12% of the wages paid or payable and the employer contribution is 12% plus 1% admin charges of the basic salary paid or payable, which we have seen just now. Illustration. Let us discuss with an example. Let us assume Mr. India working with a gross salary of 40,000 in a company and his basic salary is 20,000 rupees. But the monthly eligible contribution will be on a ceiling of 15,000 rupees, which will be as follows. As we have seen that ceiling for contribution towards EPF is 15,000 per month. We will be considering only 15,000 of the basic salary, which is 20,000 per month. Employee contribution 12% of 15,000, that is 1800, which goes towards Employee Provident Fund. Employer contribution, that is 12% of 15,000, that is 1800, which goes towards Employee Provident Fund and Employee Pension Scheme. Finally, Employee Provident Fund of 1% of 15,000, that is 150 rupees, which is an extra amount paid by the employer towards EDLI and admin charges. Total contribution paid is 25% of 15,000, that is 3,750 rupees. Step-by-step process of EPF calculation. Now we have come to a stage where we need to calculate EPF. So let us see the step-by-step process of EPF calculation, both theoretical as well as practically. So theoretical, I'll be showing a screenshot of the EPF calculation, and then we'll go to an Excel sheet and see the practicals of EPF calculation. Here I have prepared an Excel sheet consisting of all the details which are mandatory for calculating the EPF calculation. So starting with serial number, then employee ID, then name of the employees, then the designation, date of joining, date of birth, actual days in the month, loss of pay, number of working days, gross salary, actual salary, basic salary, basic for EPF, employee contribution 1, employee contribution 2, and finally the total contribution towards PF. So these are the details which need to be filled by the employer. By seeing this picture, we can understand what are the columns which need to be created and enter for all the employees with respect to their salaries, basic salaries and contributions, which will give a clear picture for calculating the EPF calculations. Hope you understood the theoretical representation of the calculating the EPF. Now let us open an Excel sheet and see how this contribution has been calculated for EPF. So dear friends, now I have opened the Excel sheet which I have already prepared, which I am showing over here. So serial number, which I have already discussed, it's a number of employees and their employee codes which has been allotted for each employee, and this is the name of the employees. So there are 10 employees with the names and the designations. Then comes the joining date. Joining date is very important because while adding a new employee or while registering the new employee in the EPF for generating UN number or the PF account number, then joining date is mandatory. At the same time, we need to keep a database for date of birth as well, because while registering or adding the new employee to the EPF account, even the date of birth is mandatory. Then comes the actual days in the month. As I am calculating the EPF for the month of January, the number of working days in January is 31. Then comes loss of pay. There is no loss of pay. Finally, the number of working days. As there is no loss of pay, the total number of working days is 31, which is entered same. Then comes this gross salary. Gross salary of the employees are entered over here. Then comes the actual salary. Even the actual salaries are entered over here. So you might be thinking, what is the difference between gross salary and actual salary? If the number of working days are less, which means if there is any LOPs, the actual salary will differ. I'll show you an example. Here the number of LOPs are 0 and the number of working days is 31, same as the actual days. So there is no difference between gross salary and actual salary. If there is an LOPs, like let us enter 5 days as LOP, then here the actual salary changes because the salary calculated is for only 26 days. So we can see the formula, that is the total gross salary is divided by 31 days, that is number of working days, and multiplied by number of working days. So here the GFI is number of working days. Hence I have calculated this formula and entered over here. Actual salary is the salary which is paid for the number of working days. As the number of working days is equal to the number of actual days, the salary of actual is same as the gross salary. Then comes the basic salary. Here, as per the company norms, the basic salary is calculated as 50% of the gross salary. Here the formula is entered as 50% of gross salary, that is L5. This is L5, that is actual salary, which we can be represented as basic salary is 50% of the actual salary. It is calculated entered over here. Then comes the basic for EPF. As we already know that the ceiling for EPF is 15,000 or less, but not beyond 15,000. Hence, if the basic salary is more than 15,000, it is by default taken as 15,000. And if the salary is less than 15,000, then it is taken the same amount. I'll just show you the amounts where the amounts are taken as it is. Here 35,000 is the basic salary, but the ceiling is 15,000, so we have taken only 15,000. Here the basic salary is 10,000, so it is less than 15,000, so we have considered as 10,000. Same of basic salary. Here the basic salary is 15,000 and the ceiling is 15,000, so we have taken the same amount. Same thing with this employee as well. But whereas with this employee, the basic salary is 20,000, so we have to take only 15,000 because the 15,000 is the ceiling. Here it is less than 15,000, so we are taking the same amount, that is less than 15,000 equal to the same basic salary. Here also same. But whereas in these two employees, the basic salary is beyond 15,000, so we are considering only 15,000. So this is the basic salary which need to be considered for calculating EPF and paying the same. Then comes the employee contribution. Employee contribution is 12% of basic salary, which we have already known. So I have entered a formula that is 12% of basic salary N5. N5 is N5. So I entered here. So I calculated the same formula for all the employees. As we have seen, keeping the 15,000 as ceiling, the employee contribution, that is 12% of basic salary, comes to be 1800. Whereas if the basic salary is less than 15,000, it is calculated accordingly, that is 12% of the respective basic salary. So we have calculated the employee contribution, that is 12% of the basic salary. Then comes the employer contribution. Employee contribution is the same, that is 12% of the basic salary. Here I have entered the same formula, that is 12% of basic salary, 12% of N5, and it is calculated same. So employee contribution and employee contribution will be same. That is, if we calculate the totals of employee contribution and employee contribution, it will be the same, that is 12% of basic salary and 12% of basic salary. In addition to 12% contribution, as we have discussed, there is another 1% of basic salary which is paid to EDLI and admin charges. So we have calculated 1% by the employee contribution, that is 1% of basic salary, that is 1% of N5. N5 is basic salary. So we have calculated here, which comes to 1400, that is another 1% which is calculated and paid to the PF department for administration and EDLI charges. Here comes the total PF amount. So if we club all the three contributions, that is employee contribution and employee contribution, will arise the total amount. Here we can see the total amount 3,750, that is 3,750. The same way it is calculated for all the employees, and the total comes to be 35,000. Here I have created another extra column for making a database of EPF number of all the employees, because whenever an employee asks for either EPF number or while generating the pay slips, we should be ready with the EPF numbers, which we can collect this information from employer EPF account. I'll be showing this how to collect this EPF number in the upcoming videos. So hope you understood how an Excel sheet is created for EPF monthly contributions. Hope you understood the process of EPF monthly calculations, both theoretically as well as practically. So dear friends, if you have any queries or questions related to this video on EPF calculation or EPF monthly contributions, please do comment in the comment section. I'll be happy enough to answer all your queries. And if you like this video, please do subscribe and share among your friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day.